I've had quite a few people asking how I turned my Suzuki Katana into a cafe racer, bobber, street fighter, naked bike. Everybody's calling it something different, but I'm just gonna call it a naked bike. So in this video, I'm gonna explain how you can turn your bike into a naked bike as well. I'm gonna go over what I did and some of the things that you might wanna do as well, and a few of the problems that specifically when you're turning it into a naked bike, you're gonna have. I'm probably not gonna cover everything in this because I essentially rebuilt the entire bike. A lot of parts I kept OEM kind of specifications, so I'm really only going to be going over what I think is crucial to turning your bike into a naked bike. So let's start with the front gauges. As you can see, I have pretty much everything pretty stock. I don't have the original mirrors, obviously, because they bolted onto the fairings. So I ended up replacing this clutch lever right here so it can actually hold a mirror. I'm going to go into further details about this later because I currently only have one mirror and I want to have two, and I'm going to have two in the future. But as you can see, I have all stock electronic parts pretty much up here. And when you go up further, you get onto my gauge. I only really have this one gauge on here right now. I'm probably going to add a tachometer later, and I'm thinking I can either put it here or maybe mount it up right around here on the bike. I'm not sure just yet, but when I get the part, we'll see how it goes. When I got this front part, I originally wanted to just mount it up right straight here, nice and easy, but it came to a few problems. The mounts on here just were not that easy to mess with, and what I ended up having to do was make mounts for it that go underneath here. That used to be for a garage door, and I just cut it up and made a mount so it can actually fit on here instead. Since my bike is a 1990 Katana, I don't have a actual gear sensor for my bike, so I'm not using that, obviously. I also have everything primarily in kilometers except the white, and for me that was a mistake because I live in the US, so it wasn't ideal, but it works and I'm comfortable with using something with kilometers. On a side note, it is not illegal to replace the gauge that says the distance on your bike. A lot of people think it is, but it's not. What is illegal is selling your bike and lying about how many miles it has. You have to be truthful about that. That's the only thing that's illegal when it comes to swapping your gauge. Let's move further in the bike. Up front, as you can see, I have a new headlight. The headlight itself I got from Amazon. It was pretty expensive, but worth it. It's also LED, so it's an upgrade from the beginning. The mounting mechanism I have on here is the Harley style. It's overbuilt, it's a pain to put on, but it works really good. It's supposed to also reduce the vibration, but I mean, does it really? I don't think so. Another thing is the blinkers I added onto it. The blinkers are LED, and the thing you're gonna experience when you put on LED blinkers is that they blink faster. I'll show it to you now. Some people think this is too fast and they just wanna slow it down. For me, I'm completely fine with it. There's ways to slow it down like resistors, but I'm completely comfortable with this. The mounting apparatus I used, it was a cheap Chinese one. You're gonna have to bend it to get it on right. It doesn't really matter if you have to bend it. If it works kind of a thing. So for me, it works just fine. And another big thing you're gonna wanna keep in mind is the height. If this thing, like you pull in the front brake, suspension goes down. This comes down with it. You want to make sure you have it high up enough to where it doesn't actually hit this. Same thing goes with the horn. I ended up mounting mine right here and did some weird stuff under there to make it work because essentially it was damaged prior, and this one's slightly larger. Depending on what year your bike is, you might want to swap the exhaust. The original 1990 came with two cans, like one on the other side of the bike, and I really just didn't like the look of it. The original 1990 ones I don't think look too great. This one is a Black Widow exhaust. I got it all the way from the UK. I struggled to find ones that would fit my 1990, like with complete certainty. So I ended up just going for that one, but there are other ones out there that you can go for. Back to the mirrors. Essentially when you get rid of your fairings, you're just gonna lose the mirrors that you currently have, but you're gonna run into an annoying problem, space. For me, I have enough space for the clutch to be on here, but not enough space really for another mirror. So I have my clutch where it can hold onto a mirror. Other side, I have no space whatsoever, unless I were to swap out this cylinder for kind of the same kind of situation. But for me, I wanted to keep a larger master cylinder, and the original one is quite large, and I frankly just couldn't find one that I wanted, and that was at a reasonable price. So what I'm gonna be doing next is swapping the actual bars. What I did was I got a large one, because sometimes you can buy bars that just go straight across and they're just very long. So I'm gonna cut that one in half, and then I'm gonna measure the side for exactly how much length I want. And what I'm also going to do is, like, instead of having these things in here, you can't really pull them out. They're welded in that good. And the new ones I'm gonna get are not gonna have that there. So because of that, I'm gonna be able to put in a different kind of mirror. This is the kind of mirror that I would like to put in my bike. It would fit up to an empty bar, which is what I'm gonna have soon. I feel like I should mention the wiring. For my bike, I originally had rodent damage, where essentially rodents chewed through my wires. So I just had a complete mess. And another guy actually tried to fix it previously, and he ended up making it worse. So I had to really backtrack a lot of wires and redo everything. But I also shortened a lot of wires. Up front, originally you're gonna have a much larger kind of section up here, and the wires go a lot further in that. So you're just gonna have to cut them back, or you're gonna have to bunch them up underneath here. On the back here, you can see that I just removed and simplified. My whole mounting bracket for everything is just something simple right here that I made. Bought the just a large piece of metal and cut it up, and that's what you get. This part right here, though, that actually mounts the license plate itself, that I think is original from the bike. I'm not 100% sure, but I found it in my garage, so I'm fairly confident it's from this bike. I also did cut this thing back right here, the actual mud guard, have it going up right on here, so you can just barely see that. And I also, these things right here, I drilled out, and I could never get the right threading, unfortunately. And what I ended up doing was just gluing it on there. They're on really, really strong. I mean, like really strong, but it's glue, so I feel a little offended by it. I am, however, using the stock seat. I did, however, add some black paint to this part over here, just so it blends in a little bit better, because this does become somewhat visible. However, on the bottom, as you can see, I didn't bother to continue because there's no need to. I also ended up redoing this entire seat itself, and as you can see, I also put like a ton of rivets in there, so this thing's not going anywhere. If you want a naked sport bike, you're gonna have to do a lot of painting as well. Once you take off the fairings, you're gonna find a whole lot of rust that you do not like, and that takes a long time to sand off generally. And whenever you paint a part, you're gonna have to deal with putting it back together and not scratching it. And you're also gonna find that gasoline eats up most paint. So if you start taking your bike apart again and you're negligent with the gasoline or anything like that, you're gonna start to ruin the paint. And it's just, when you start painting a bike, it becomes something you have to take care of a little bit more generally. There are things like Cerakoting that you can do, but depending on the route you take, some paints are just stronger than others. The last thing I wanna leave you guys with is how did I get parts for this bike? Whenever you're doing a naked bike, eBay and Amazon is gonna be your best friend, generally because you're not going for OEM spec parts anymore. All these electronics, gauges and everything, that's not original from the bike, so eBay and Amazon is where you go. You're really gonna wanna get good quality products, because if you get bad, it backfires. I've had that happen probably 3 times now on this bike, so try to get good quality from the get-go. Another website I used was SuzukiPartsHouse.com. That was for all the original OEM spec parts that I wanted brand new. They're a part of Babbitt's, so you can find wonderful parts diagrams, and it's just incredibly helpful when working on your bike. I hope this video helped some of you guys. I'm going to be working on a few more videos coming in the future, and I'm thinking of working on the brake lines next, and really just moving on from there to maybe the carburetors, how to clean them properly and reassemble them, and maybe a few ideas on what you want to do if you're planning on rebuilding your carburetors. And really, there's just a big list on my phone. I might end up going back into the engine one day and teaching you guys how to rebuild an engine, well, specifically a Suzuki Katana engine, which would be helpful to you guys specifically. But I've already rebuilt the engine, and I hate going into the engine, so I might do it later on, but I'm not going to be doing it just yet. Probably also like how to adjust your valves, which is a regular maintenance thing. And I got really a whole lot of ideas and what videos I want to do to help you guys out.